Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to completely unravel the mysteries of the modern data center. If you've spent any time in IT recently, you've absolutely heard the acronym HCI thrown around. Hyperconverged Infrastructure. I know, it sounds kind of like something straight out of a science fiction movie, right? But at its core, it is fundamentally transforming how we build and scale our tech environments. So today, we're going to demystify HCI by looking at it through a really simple concept, the ultimate building block. Here is a quick look at our roadmap. We'll kick things off with a traditional IT headache, then enter HCI as the solution. Take a peek under the HCI hood, run through the benefits and limitations, and finally map out the current market landscape. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the traditional IT headache, the disjointed reality. Imagine a legacy data center for a second. For decades, traditional infrastructure basically meant buying completely disjointed hardware. You had separate servers for compute, separate networking switches, and these absolutely massive, incredibly expensive external storage area networks. Each of these parts is a completely separate physical box, and here's the kicker, they're usually managed separately. You'd have completely different teams who had to constantly coordinate just to keep the lights on. It was a highly siloed, honestly messy world. Well, HCI completely flips the script. It combines standard servers and super intelligent software into one single unified cluster. No more massive silos, just a streamlined, elegant approach. Section 2. Enter HCI, the solution, one unified platform. The real magic of HCI boils down to a super simple equation. Compute plus storage plus virtualization plus management equals one integrated system. By using standard off-the-shelf servers equipped with local disks, HCI leverages software to collapse all of those separate silos into a single, prepackaged solution. It is literally like a perfectly engineered Lego kit. So instead of buying separate servers, a separate SAN, and, a dozen different management tools, you're getting one beautifully unified platform. Now, the absolute most crucial point is how HCI actually handles the storage aspect, because let's face it, that is historically the hardest part of data center design. HCI relies on this brilliant concept called software-defined storage. Instead of running cables from your servers to some giant, separate external SAN via a ridiculously complicated network, HCI just uses incredibly smart software to pool together the local disks that already sit inside your standard servers. It takes all those individual local resources across all your nodes and just combines them into one easily accessible shared storage platform. It's absolutely brilliant in its efficiency. And this isn't just a neat trick. It dramatically cuts your hardware costs and completely removes those massive networking bottlenecks. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is, well, let's just look. Section 3, under the HCI hood, inside a single node. If you crack open a single HCI node, you essentially have a highly integrated team working seamlessly together. Your CPU and RAM provide the raw compute power you need to run your heavy workloads. Right alongside them, in the exact same chassis, you have your incredibly fast local SSD or NVMe disks. Layered right on top of that hardware is the hypervisor, which runs your virtual machines. And finally, binding the whole thing together is the HCI software networking, connecting the nodes, the virtual machines, and the users. Best of all, it all reports up to a central management interface. You oversee the entire cluster from one single pane of glass. Let's map these theoretical concepts to a couple of industry heavyweights so you can see what I mean, Nutanix and VMware. For Nutanix, you start with physical servers, run their AHV hypervisor, use Nutanix AOS for that software-defined storage we just talked about, manage it all with Prism, and then run your VMs on top. Over on the VMware side, it's the exact parallel philosophy, just with different tools. You've got physical servers running the ESXi hypervisor, VMware vSAN handling the storage pool, managed centrally by vCenter, all to power your VMs. The names change for sure, but that elegant stacked architecture, the whole shebang remains exactly the same. Section 4. Benefits and limitations, the pros and cons of HCI. The benefits of this approach are profound, especially when you hold them up against the slow, complex traditional IT infrastructure we looked at earlier. With HCI, deployment is incredibly simple, and scaling is a breeze. Seriously, you just plug in another node, like snapping on another Lego brick. You get one centralized management platform for literally everything. You massively reduce your dependence on complex external SAN storage, plus you get built-in replication and high availability to keep your data safe. IT teams absolutely love it because it allows for way faster provisioning of virtual machines, and honestly, lifecycle and firmware management just becomes a total breeze. You're updating one cohesive system instead of juggling a million updates across a dozen different vendors. Okay, Those benefits sound fantastic, right? But as an explainer dedicated to giving you the unvarnished full picture, we have to pause and ask a critical question. But is it perfect? The reality is that every single technology out there, no matter how elegant it seems, comes with its own architectural trade-offs. And here is the primary limitation of traditional HCI. Because compute and storage are intimately married inside each physical node, they scale together. This means that if your company suddenly has a massive influx of data and you literally just need more storage space, buying another standard HCI node means you are also paying for extra CPU and RAM that you might not even need. It's kind of like buying a whole new car just because you needed more trunk space. Now, the industry is pretty smart, and some platforms actually solve this scaling imbalance by offering specialized storage-heavy or even storage-only nodes, but it is a fundamental architectural quirk you absolutely have to plan for. Section 5, the HCI market landscape. Hardware and software. When you're actually out there buying HCI today, you generally have two main paths to choose from. The first is complete hardware appliances. These are true out-of-the-box solutions where the hardware and software are deeply integrated by vendors like Dell, Nutanix, or Azure. The second path is complete software platforms. Here, you're buying the software stack, but it requires you to run it on specific hardware that the vendor has certified. This includes things like the Nutanix Cloud Platform, VMware Cloud Foundation, Azure Local Software Tier, and Red Hat OpenShift Virtualization with Data Foundation. And this brilliantly illustrates how the market is constantly evolving, because there are always exceptions to the rule. Take HPE Alletra DHCI, for example. The D there stands for disaggregated. It's this fascinating twist where they provide an HCI-like management experience, but they actually physically separate the compute and storage to solve that exact scaling limitation we talked about a minute ago. On the flip side, we have Cisco HyperFlex. It was a complete end-to-end hardware and software platform, but it actually serves as a historical note today since it's been discontinued. It just goes to show that the market is continuously shifting and adapting to what data centers actually need in the real world. Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. We've seen how HCI elegantly collapses those messy, disjointed silos of traditional IT into a single, unified, scalable cluster. We've looked at the incredible benefits of software-defined storage, weighed those architectural trade-offs, and explored the major players out there today. But as artificial intelligence and enterprise data needs absolutely explode in the coming years, we really have to ask, will HCI adapt to become the absolute only building block we need for the future data center? It is a truly fascinating question to ponder as this technology continues to evolve. Thank you so much for joining me to demystify HCI today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I can't wait to explore the next fascinating topic with you soon.